My log has something to tell you. Do you know it?
I don't believe we've been introduced.
I do not introduce the log. Can you hear it?
No, ma'am, I cannot.
I will translate. Deliver the message. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am, as a matter of fact, I do.
Hello and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, Season 12, PeaksChatz. My name is Magellan, and depending upon how one looks at the situation, it appears we both have merit. It looks like we're 100% certain that we're not sure. It's Alan.
Magellan, thank you for that. If there's one thing I'm sure of, it's that I do a full-fledged, full-bodied Millie Rock every time we're listening to that theme song as it cuts us in. And I'm not I do a unique dance every time, but this time it was like a full Millie Rock. It was great. Yeah.
Every time I have a strong urge to come in at the beginning of the episode singing the theme song, and I resist that urge. But
welcome to PeaksChatz. There's owls and some girl and she is... All right, that's enough of that. Hey, kid.
Well, yeah, hey, kid. Welcome to another episode of PeaksChatz, where we watch 2 episodes of Twin Peaks every week. This week we watched Season 2, Episode 2 and Episode 3 of Twin Peaks. First off, Season 2, Episode 2, Coma. It was directed by David Lynch, written by Harley Payton. It aired on October 6th, 1990. Alan, what happened in Coma?
I'm glad you asked, Magellan. In this episode, old partners vanish from thin air. A young magician with a lonely soul hates creamed corn. The infertile man wants answers, and the reflection of a dead man reveals his fate. Patterns appear amongst the space junk, and evil encroaches upon our dreams as lovers sing a strange song. And finally, a call for help is heard. But is it truly understood? This time on Twin Peaks, the summary is way cooler than the episode.
Alan wrote that summary, and it's really good. So
thank you.
Thanks for doing that.
So I had initially been inspired to write 30-second summaries from Donald Faison on the Fake Doctors Real Friends podcast. And the truth of the matter is writing 30-second summaries is a writing task. It's not like we poo-poo on IMDb for like just being like, oh, these are so literal, or like on wikis for just being like, here's a list of things that happen. But actually getting it down to like the bare essentials of it requires you to just dig into like what matters.
Bit of poetry in it.
Exactly. And so I had a lot of fun writing that. I did it for the second episode as well, but we'll get there.
Yeah. So what did you think of Coma?
Oh, I don't know. It's pretty good, actually. Yeah. I like these character moments a lot. There are a lot of very satisfying moments here. And something I've been thinking a lot with Twin Peaks is how, like, this era, this period of the show really luxuriates in everything, in the investigation, in each scene, and the choreography, the cinematography, I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And just every moment feels like it lasts really long. And I kind of love that. I think that Twin Peaks, like, after a certain point, especially like we talked about in season 1, how it felt like everything was just turbocharged. I'm enjoying watching them pump the brakes a little bit. It's non-traditional, and it's not exactly what you come for in a traditional like detective story. But I'm finding all these characters really fun right now. I think that they're settling into who they are and how they interact with each other, and I enjoy that a lot. It's good. I've said it before. It's good late night chilling by the television.
Yeah, definitely.
What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we're coming off of a really jam-packed premiere to the season into 2 episodes that are less eventful because they're episodes 2 and 3 of a season of television. And so I kind of had to recalibrate my expectations, I guess. So I liked them. I don't think they're standout episodes, but I think they both have standout moments for sure.
Did you know that the second episode is listed as one of the top ranked episodes of Twin Peaks, according to, I believe it was Variety.com?
Why?
They were basically the description was like, good investigation stuff. It's like,
oh, okay.
I surely don't know what that person is looking for in Twin Peaks. And sometimes I don't know what I'm looking for in Twin Peaks.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that we're looking for Laura's killer. And on the way there, Albert and Cooper are talking about Cooper's old partner, who goes by the name of Wyndham Earl, who seems to have vanished from his solitary confinement, I think is the implication.
Yeah, he was supposed to be executed, it sounds like, but now he's gone. Yeah. I don't know. Something's going. Cooper's worried about it.
That's quite a few, sure. It's kind of fun to see Cooper rattled like that, because he's been so hyper focused on his dreams and interpreting his dreams and solving this case that it's like, oh, Cooper, your life exists outside of this case, and you're like, oh, you watch him like realize that and kind of. It's fun how that contrasts to with the choice. The people making the show really care a lot about sound design and putting these two characters having a frank conversation about their past right in front of a barbershop quartet. Very inspired. Very good work.
A fun choice. I really liked the scene between Cooper and Albert because it was the first indication of something amazing that happens in the second episode, which we'll talk about, where they're softening Albert. And there's this little exchange. I will say, okay, I'm going to play this clip. Albert is making a offensive joke. He's talking about all the things they found in Jacques Renault's stomach, which sucks. It's really frustrating. But I really liked Cooper's response, which is why I kept it. So this is the exchange.
I performed the autopsy on Jacques Renault. Stomach contents revealed. Let's see, beer cans, a Maryland license plate, half a bicycle tire, a goat.
They're the barbershop guys in the
and a small wooden puppet. Goes by the name of Pinocchio.
You're making a joke.
I just thought that part was cute. The fact that, there's something about Cooper and Albert's relationship where Cooper can kind of poke through his exterior a little bit. And yeah, I'm enjoying Albert being a part of the ensemble more than I remembered him being.
He kind of, I'm just now coming to this realization, he kind of brings Dr. Cox energy to the show.
Yeah, definitely.
Just the everything you guys say is wrong and I know better than everyone and no one listens to me, but you kind of love him.
Right, he ends up saying the funniest stuff and yeah.
And gets the long, that line must have been pretty hard for Miguel Ferrer to deliver and memorize and whatnot. It's kind of a beefy bit of dialogue. But yes, I really like all the Albert stuff, and I honestly, if we had watched these 2 episodes and there was no suggestion that Albert is softening, like you said, I would have been started to feel a little exhaustion or weariness at it, because there's only so much of the mean guy who says no to everything that I can take. But they definitely were aware of that and are course correcting a little bit in good ways. And they're talking about Cooper's explaining some Buddhist history to Albert here, just again reminding us that he's all about that stuff. But we don't really hear more about Wyndham Earl. I know that later Cooper, when he's going to bed, is like, Diane, I'm worried about Wyndham Earl. And it's like, what's going on there? I found a lot to get out. I got a lot out of the Donna stuff in this episode, believe it or not.
Okay.
I didn't expect to, but as somebody rewatching Twin Peaks and thinking a lot about the sort of weirder scenes that don't immediately reveal themselves, I thought this was cool. So Donna is now working with Norma's branch of Meals on Wheels. She's taken Laura's route, and that means that she's meeting Laura's clients, one of whom is a Mrs. Tremont, who is a sick old woman in her bed, and Donna comes in and is in still in investigation mode. She's like, "What's up, Mrs. Tremont? Hi there." And she gives her some vague comments about Laura being here before and who you look like and what you remind me of. Donna presents her the food that she's bringing. I forgot what Meals on Wheels actually is. I had to Google it. I felt bad. It's literally like senior citizens who can't get out of their house, or people who can't get out of their house, get food deliveries.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically it's a precursor to HelloFresh.
Stop.
I had to. But what's hilarious, what's the comedy of the scene is like Donna's being all serious about like this food and whatever, and then she turns and there's this little kid who he's played by David Lynch's son, y'all.
Miss,
Oh, hi.
sometimes things can happen just like this.
Good job, son.
Great,
You
dude.
snapped. Yeah, great work.
They make him even look. That's Austin Jack Lynch, and they actually make him look like David Lynch.
He also sounds like David Lynch. Later, when his last line, he says this.
She seemed like a very nice girl.
That just sounds exactly like David Lynch. It's so weird.
It's bizarro.
She seemed like a very nice girl.
Yeah, I think there's some like background ephemera that reveals that his name is Pierre. We just know him as Mrs. Tremont's grandson here.
He can speak French. Also,
He speaks French. I know a little bit of French, guys. You want to learn some French today?
yeah.
Well, he says j'ai un âme. I don't know how to say soul. He says I have a lonely soul. J'ai un âme solitaire, which means I have a lonely soul. That's, one of those classic Lynch weird things. Or I am a lonely soul, excuse me. I am. I think we can talk about that a little bit in the spoiler section, what's going on with the lonely soul thing. There's also, if you just look at your listing of episodes, folks, there's an episode later in the season called Lonely Souls. So, like, who could say what that means? It can mean a lot of things. Who's lonely in the show? I think it's clear at this point that it's a hint. Mrs. Tremont suggests that Donna investigate a man named Harold who lives next door, who was also on Laura's route.
Mm-hmm.
Who we learn in the second episode is in fact a lonely person. So could be him. Who could say? But yeah, did you get anything out of that besides like, creamed corn is weird? Because Donna brings them creamed corn and Mrs. Tremont is like, no, I said no creamed corn. And then Pierre like makes it vanish into his hands and just holds some corn.
Yeah, she's like, my grandson's practicing magic. And then he makes the corn disappear. I mean, it's weird in the way that you want stuff to be. And I think the weirdness of it is communicated pretty well. I liked the pair of shots where the corn was in the thing and when it wasn't. But anything else that I would say about it is for spoiler talks. So
yeah,
that's there's not more to be said there.
I have some theories and stuff about the true meaning of the creamed corn, but as we've mentioned before, David Lynch not the kind of person that really doesn't like to provide answers like that. So it's kind of like, if you haven't watched Twin Peaks before and you're just watching the scene in isolation, what do you think the creamed corn is? What do you think it symbolizes? I have my own theory. You can come back to the spoiler section later and we'll talk about that. Yeah. We have a couple of other short plot lines that are briefly touched on. As I mentioned in the summary, Leo is alive.
Mm-hmm.
But he's comatose.
Yeah.
And Shelley and Bobby meet secretly. I'm starting to feel gross about Shelley and Bobby, honestly.
Yeah, I'm fine with like them. I think that their relationship is very sweet. And I found it an interesting choice when they're in the car and the radio's playing and it's playing Twin Peaks music. And then Bobby was like, change the station, baby, or whatever. And then it's like cool rock music.
Yep.
Cause I don't know. They're just having their own little story and they kind of get to live outside of the rules of Twin Peaks a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But Bobby pushing her towards bringing Leo back home so that they can collect
$5,000 a month.
$5,000 a month. Yeah, it feels really gross. And it also just shows a lack of empathy on Bobby's part. That Leo's inactive currently. He's in a coma, but Leo is still Leo, and Shelley has to like look at him, and be reminded of her relationship with him and what
Yeah.
he's done, and that's really shitty. So yeah, Bobby, stop it.
If you zoom in on this plot for a sec and think about comparing it to Norma and Ed once again, Shelley is letting this other guy decide how she handles the whole custody of her husband thing.
Mhm.
He's saying, use this, get the money from him, and don't worry about being with him. And like we had mentioned last season, Norma is trying to do this similar thing within the law. She's just hoping beyond hope that that Hank doesn't get off. But there's something honest about that, and the fact that it fails is unsuccessful is pretty sad. Whereas like this is like dark in its own way.
Yeah.
Like if you had tried to just like lie about Hank and say like he was terrible and put him in jail, you would probably feel regret for the rest of your life. Just like it seems like maybe Shelley and Bobby are going to in some way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it highlights something unfortunate about like abuse within a marital relationship, that in the eyes of the state, Shelley still has some kind of responsibility for Leo, and Norma still has some responsibility for Hank. Yeah, and that's just like a societal thing that's unfortunate and is told to us in the form of both of those plots. Because, Shelley should be able to say like, no, I don't want to take this guy home. There should be some place where he's taken care of that doesn't necessarily fall to me just because on paper it says that I'm married to him. And
that she can be supported financially. Like they have to basically like say, well, the state isn't going to support us, so we need a way to cheat the system. Right. And that's the sadness of it, right? It's you can blame the system, not the people, which I always am in favor of. But yeah. Yeah. I also didn't like the hint of, there seemed to be this vague sort of Reagan era disdain for, Bobby taking on this whole like, yeah, we'll scam the government and get the disability checks or whatever. That seems like a conservative talking point of like everybody who gets these checks are just scammers or whatever. And Cooper, even in the next episode, is like, oh, I see what she's doing. She's scamming for the insurance money. And I was not a fan of that. Right. The politics of that. Partly because we never see that. We haven't really it's never been made clear that Shelley and Bobby are struggling financially. Like, yeah, they can't pay to move out and live together separately without like significant income, but like they seem to both be separately doing fine. And because like, what Bobby's talking about is like, we're going to live a whole new lifestyle. Like we're going to splurge and live extravagantly. Yeah. Because of the insurance money or whatever. I guess it's complicated because it wasn't clear to me actually if this is like insurance money or money from the government. So maybe my political angle doesn't make sense if it's insurance money. It is disability checks. Okay. From the government, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. So then that's just the sort of like, the whole Reagan era welfare queen type thing of like people are living, buying, and nowadays it's like, oh, they're buying cell phones, whatever. Like that's not how this works. People need support. And anyway, so yeah, the politics of it bugged me. Like, yeah, Shelley should have the support network that like she shouldn't even have to consider doing this. They shouldn't need it, but it seems to be the way that they want. But also them getting the money, like you're saying, the show could portray it as like Shelley, finally we'll be okay or something. Yeah, like Shelley, we really need the money. Like this sucks, but we don't have any other way to support ourselves, which is more truthful, as opposed to Bobby being like, we're going to go on all the best dates and I'm going to buy you a nice dress or whatever. Come on, we're going to be so rich. Like, yeah, gross. Totally get that. Yeah. I think occasionally this show does like peek at a conservatism. It's something that's been under the undercurrent for a while. I think you had mentioned a conversation you had with, or what was the context for that? With Charlie, roommate of the pod. Yeah. He said he was at a dinner a while ago where someone said that Twin Peaks is like one of the great conservative works of art or something like that. Which Buck Wild is an interesting take. I mean, that's not necessarily wrong. Like
David Lynch is kind of a moving target in terms of his politics. And certainly Twin Peaks, as we've talked about before, is very into glorifying the kind of like real America, in quotes, pastoral sort of small town vibe, which has a conservatism to it.
I also think that misses the point, though. Because so
Twin
much
Peaks
of it is
isn't that political, right? Like it's hard to position it in that way, in a definitive way.
At least where we're at with it. But I also just think so much of the show is about like that pastoral 1950s America and how full of sin and corruption it is and how broken it is and how unsustainable it is.
Yeah, the show kind of waffles on it.
It has its cake and eats it too. Yes.
Yeah, because it like glorifies it and says that it's messed up and then goes back to glorifying it and then saying it's messed, like it's trying to present a nuanced and complex image that yeah, I think it's hard to position Twin Peaks politically. Maybe that'll become clearer when we watch The Return. I don't remember anything especially political from The Return, but certainly this moment, I don't think so much that the show is like making a political statement by portraying Bobby and Shelley in this way, so much as it is like complacent with post-Reagan era like talking points about this sort of stuff. Because like Bill Clinton would say this sort of thing too, you know? It like this got pushed into the sort of core of American politics in the 80s and the 90s and in the 2000s.
The sad thing is it's no longer even a like right-wing thing to say. It's just like the understanding now is in a lot of popular American political discourse is that people who are on disability are greedy or using it for bad purposes.
Yeah.
Which is awful. Like we, you know, and it's the state supporting itself, obviously. And I know we say we weren't going to get too political, but that's like what this anti-disability stuff discourse is the state saying, well, of course we don't provide it because it's bad. And that's why we don't provide it, not for any other reason. Like how it takes away from our money that we want to use.
Yeah, so it's just unfortunate to see Twin Peaks like parroting that position in the way that it constructs the plot. Not that it's like really out there saying that in a definitive way, but yeah, you could have tweaked this scene somewhat to talk about this differently.
Welcome to Twin Tweaks, where we fix Twin Peaks.
Yeah, but anyway, that's the whole Bobby Shelley plot. They don't really do much else in this episode except make out in Bobby's dad's car. He's like, yeah, I brought my dad's car so we can fuck because
the
it's
Briggsmobile
or whatever.
Which probably has like a little like UFO dancing thingy or whatever, as we learn later.
Yeah, it probably has a horn that goes like ba-ba-da-ba-ba, ba-ba-da-ba-ba.
But unfortunately, Bobby and Shelley aren't going to get to enjoy the smoked cheese pig fruits of their labor just yet.
Oh my God, this is my favorite plot. So we jump over to the Horn brothers, Ben and Jerry, and the scene starts with Jerry saying this.
Brother Ben, we've got 2 ledgers and 1 smoked cheese pig. Which one do we burn? And it ain't gonna be my pig.
The smoked cheese pig is not a thing. I Googled it. Like, is this a thing? It's not. They just made it up for the show.
It's fun to
like,
say.
Yeah, I've got smoked cheese in the shape of a pig. And that's what I'm eating.
It's the picture of indulgence. It's exactly brie on bread. It's just like
right.
Whenever Ben and Jerry eat food, specifically whenever Jerry introduces food, it's like, you wouldn't make that. That's so indulgent. Like, oh my God.
Right. It's smoked, him laying down the leg of lamb on the desk. It's
it's the bread and butter. The bread and butter, and it's a smoked cheese pig. Like, that's just, I don't even think that would taste. Maybe that could taste good.
It seems good. I don't know. I like smoked cheese. It sounds good.
I do. I have enjoyed pork in my day. But yeah, they're having this good conversation where like the show is becoming a little bit self-aware of the mill plot, where they're like, okay, we have these 2 ledgers and we need to burn one of them, and I don't want to burn both of them because then we don't have any proof. And if we burn the one with the good numbers, then it looks like we're suffering, so we get an insurance payout. But if we burn them with the bad numbers, then it looks like we're successful, and that's how we get a different type of big payout. Let's burn neither of them.
Yeah, this is in storytelling terms, this is like a tough tightrope to walk, right?
Yes.
Because in both of these episodes, there are moments where the characters are commenting on the story a little bit, or the plots are getting wacky. And on the one hand, that's fun. And it's entertaining as an audience member to see these guys say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. Why did we team up with Josie? And now Catherine's, and Catherine didn't sign the will. Boy, how are we supposed to make money off of this? And like, that's great because you're acknowledging what the audience is feeling, and that makes us laugh in the moment. But you're also just kind of like copping out of making the story make sense.
Yes.
Too. And you're undermining the reality of the show to a certain extent by doing that. I mean, maybe you could say that what this is showing us is that Ben Horne is not the brains of the operation that we think that he is. And he just kind of like teams up with people because he wants to. But I don't know. You're not really giving us a satisfying answer to why were there two ledgers. You're just saying, I guess it didn't make sense. Anyway, who wants marshmallows?
Right, Ben just having... Is it Ben who just pulls out a bag of marshmallows?
Yeah, when they can't figure it out, he's like, look what I have. He has a big old bag of marshmallow.
I do love marshmallows, and I do love an indoor fire and everything, but, like, come on, guys. And yeah, Twin Peaks is not a show I come to for, like, acute self-awareness. I'm not like, I love it that it roasts itself, and it's like a parody of soap operas. Like, I've heard Twin Peaks often described in that way, but I think its self-awareness is more just... I don't know.
I think it's just strongest when David Lynch's son has a handful of creamed corn. Like when it just it does really strange stuff, but it commits to it. And this moment is tricky because on the one hand, you're kind of like cleaning the slate and saying like, yeah, don't worry about that. We don't actually want to focus on that. But on the other hand, you're having characters point at the plot and say, this is weird, huh? Mm-hmm. And if you do too much of that, you end up flanderizing the show, which is what happens to Twin Peaks in season 2.
Exactly.
It becomes a sort of funhouse mirror version of itself.
Yes. It's like you said, it's a tough line to toe. But I think I personally think that Twin Peaks works when it knows it's a soap opera and has fun doing that, not when it's making fun of soap opera tropes and being like, why do we have two ledgers? That's stupid. Anyways, let's eat marshmallows instead.
Right. This isn't Scary Movie, right?
Yeah.
That's not really the vibe. It's more like, I don't know enough about horror movies, but there's probably a horror movie out there that's like a really exaggerated, like Scream. Is that what Scream is?
Yeah, there you go.
I don't know.
Scream's a good example, or like Drag Me to Hell, where it's like, this is ridiculous, and Sam Raimi like knows this is a dumb horror movie, but like it's still a horror movie.
Right.
It's also just hilarious. Someone vomits bees at one point in that movie. It's sick.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, why not, right? But so the boys are dealing with their ledgers. I don't even really want to talk about Audrey that much. She mostly gets stuff in the second episode, but in this one, she sets the record straight with Emery Battis, the manager of Horne's department store.
I'm insane? Well, I'm Audrey Horne, and I get what I want.
So Audrey's the Joker now.
So
she's gonna blow up Gotham.
Yeah, basically she makes deals with the other girls at One-Eyed Jack's to sort of say like, let me go into the room with this guy.
There's a very fun, quiet moment here where one of them is vacuuming, and she comes in and she's like, give me the, like, let me vacuum. And she's like, this is all communicated without words. She's like, it's my job. And she's like, no, give it to me and you leave. And she goes, okay. Gives her the vacuum or whatever.
And it's clear that that's because then she turns off the vacuum and he's like, why is the vacuum off? And so I guess that's part of it. That's part of his thing that he wants.
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know. Them trying to guess at what would this guy want sexually feels weird, because then it's like, look, he wanted his toenails painted and whatever. Anyway,
Emery's a useless character, honestly.
Yeah. The only real point of this scene is that we confirm that he was trafficking girls to One-Eyed Jack's through the perfume counter. We confirm for sure that Ben Horne owns One-Eyed Jack's. We confirm that Laura and Ronette worked at One-Eyed Jack's. We basically just 100% confirm things we already knew and make sure that Audrey knows them so that she can tell them to Cooper later, I guess. And then we also get Audrey in a more complicated situation where now later in the next, is it the next episode?
It's in this episode. Well, so the end of this episode is when she goes, Cooper, pick me up. I'm in trouble. And he's like, oh no, I'm trying to find out where you are. And it's Emery and Blackie are behind her telling her to say that.
Yeah.
They're trying to bait Cooper.
I don't think they're telling her to say that. I think the way that Audrey reacted, it seemed like she didn't know they were in the room or something.
Okay.
And they like find her.
The second episode implies that they've been trying to bait Cooper. Because that's what Jean Reno is saying. He's like, oh, we're going to kill the man who killed my brother.
It's a little confused in this. Well, let's just punt it to the second episode because we can talk about it there. But the point is that now Blackie knows that Audrey is Ben Horn's daughter, which changes the chessboard a little bit.
Ooh, okay.
I'm insane. Well, I'm Audrey Horne, and I get what I want.
It's such a good delivery. I love you, Shirley Fenn. Super brief. Want to talk about the Log Lady and Major Briggs finally hang out in the diner. That's fantastic, but not as fantastic as you would hope for like the Log Lady and Major Briggs hang out.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the best line in the whole thing is when she says,
I'll have a bear claw.
Yeah.
And that's like when it's the two characters who say the most bomb lines all the time. It was kind of a letdown of a scene.
Yeah. It does give us Norma being kind of a badass, and she's like, Margaret, you gotta stop putting your gum under every single table.
Yeah, that's pretty funny character detail.
I love making the Log Lady a human being. Yeah, she's gross. Also, gum. Should get that gum you like is coming back in style.
Gum.
Gum.
Oh, okay.
The old times, yeah.
Nicely gum.
And then, thank you, this segues into Major Briggs revealing the nature of his work to Cooper. So,
yes, because the log tells him deliver the message.
Right, and he says, understood. And he goes to Cooper's room in the Great Northern. What was that?
He goes and delivers the message.
He delivers the aforementioned message. He is working with... It's very unclear, but he's basically saying we track messages coming from space. The vast majority of it is quote-unquote space junk. It's gibberish. It's printed out on dot matrix printer paper here. But recently, the words started to form themselves, and it says here, the owls are not what they seem. And Cooper's like, that's from my dream. That's so weird. Why did you know to give that to me? And he goes, well... they hit enter a couple times. They did some more space gibberish, and then they just wrote Cooper. And that's your name. Also, this was written on the night you were shot.
It's funny to think about the person in the art department who had to type up that whole thing.
Oh my god. Exhausting.
And make that prop.
Yeah, and then David Lynch is like, no, press enter like 2 more times, 3 more times. Come on, let's get it.
This is good, but I want it to say Cooper 5 more times on the back.
Thank you. That's for the diehards. Yeah, that's great. I have been excited to talk about Major Briggs' like weird alien shit for a while, and we're getting the tease of it now, and I'm excited to see more of this. The space junk.
The whole point of this scene, I guess, is just to confirm that the giant is real and like these paranormal things are not just dreams.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, they're legit.
Okay. Sure. That's good.
But John, it really sounds good. And what? I know you're excited to talk about it because you said last week that it's your favorite scene in the show. And I'm going to push you so hard on that.
Okay.
But so James, Maddie, and Donna Hayward are hanging out in Donna's house. And they play a little song.
captured 2 minutes of this, so we don't have to listen to the whole thing. But this is when the girls come in.
Typical backing track.
Yeah, like where are those bass notes coming from? Where are the drums?
It's a full production.
Yeah.
So I knew that there was some behind the scenes goofiness. I think I misspoke recently when we talked about it, but basically from our friend of the podcast, Ryan, Ryan P says, James sang Just You on set when they did the scene. That's James Marshall, the actor. He played guitar a lot on set, so Lynch and Frost wanted to incorporate that. However, for the show, Angelo Badalamenti actually recorded the guitar riff, but in a higher key, higher than what the actor can actually sing. That's why he sounds like that. Angelo fucked our boy over. This time, James being terrible was not his own fault.
I mean, it sounds silly. I was telling you before the show that it sounds like the part in Teenage Dirtbag by Wheatus where he's doing the voice of the girl character in the story.
Yeah.
And he's like, listen to Iron Maiden, baby, with me. But I think it actually contributes to the scene and makes the scene better, ironically and unironically, that he's singing so high pitched.
Well, it's the sort of surrealness of it. Like, just the fact that there's this old-timey 1950s microphone that they just have and that they're laying down a track. We've never implied that James is like a professional singer at all. This is a terrible recording environment. We're just on the floor of someone's house. This full production song. I mean, it works for several reasons. Here's why we're going to tell you that the Just You and I scene works for a bunch of reasons. Number one, thematically and lyrically, it's a song that's supposed to be sung by two lovers to each other. It is being sung by three people who are in a love triangle. I think that's the symbol, like 101. Like, yeah, that's what they're doing here.
Yeah, it's not subtle what's happening here, but it is correct. It is poignant.
Donna feels like, and makes it clear, like she kind of like backs away when she sees Maddie like looking at James and they like share a tender moment. And she's like, what the F? Like, this is not what I wanted this friendship to become. Yeah. Maddie's taking over my spot and I feel, out as an outcast. But also, crucially, it sets the stage for one of the scariest moments of Twin Peaks so far, to me. Honestly, less scary when you know it's coming, but when you don't know it's coming, I'm sure our first-time watchers out there were a little spooked here because, James is like fading out, and then Donna's in the other room, and Maddie's alone on the floor, and she sees Bob, and he fucking. He climbs over the couch towards the camera and runs at the camera. It scared the poo out of me the first time I saw it, guys. It's so creepy. It's camera work. I mean, it's a still shot, but it's just a moment of really great directing here. Of like, she can't stop. This guy always exists on the periphery of what we think is normal. And so when things start to get a little bit askew, that's when Bob pops out. And so like this scene being weird and being like, why are they singing like this? Segueing right into like Bob is coming for Maddie actually, I think works very effectively in terms of like luring you in and then scaring the poop off out of you. Because
you sort of are like letting your guard down or just not expecting those elements to appear, you're saying?
Yeah. This is a scene that goes on for long enough that you're like, okay, I guess we're just singing now. Like, haha, I'll accept it. And once you accept it, that's when he's like, hey, I'm here and I'm coming for you, the viewer. Like he's making direct eye contact with the camera, coming straight in there. It's really creepy. Throughout this entire series, this is still in my like top 3 Bob moments of all time. I just think it works extraordinarily well in terms of like scaring you in the way that David Lynch can scare with his directing.
Yeah, I think it also importantly makes you leave this scene thinking about it not from James's perspective or Donna's perspective, but from Maddie's perspective. Because we sit in that still shot of her seeing Bob, and that's like the last point of view that we get from this whole thing. So it also reinforces what's ultimately really upsetting about this love triangle, which is in this love triangle, it's not just like, oh, my boyfriend likes another girl and she's sitting right next to me. It's like this girl is carrying out and embodying this other person who used to be here in the old version of this love triangle, right? And like Donna, we'll talk about Donna in the next episode, but she talks about like it used to be her, James, and Laura. That used to be the trio, and we're just reinforcing that we're not free of that, and that Maddie may feel sort of like uncomplicated I like James feelings, but it's in the context of a really fraught situation where everybody's like wanting her to be Laura.
Right. And she's just unable to escape this like encroaching force. We know also that he's coming for her. If you're gonna like try to read the cinematography here, it's like he's not there just yet, but he's coming. He's on the periphery. I think this ties in greatly to her scene in the second episode where she talks to Leland and she's like, "Hey, everything feels weird here." She doesn't like specifically say it, but she's just like, "Everything feels wrong, and I feel like I'm in a dream, and things are scary," you know?
Yeah.
But that's the episode. It does end with the Audrey scene, unfortunately. I really wish it ended on the Bob jump, but they decided to actually end with the whole, like, Cooper, save me thing.
Well, we also get, like, a horror montage.
Oh, true.
There's a moment where we see Bob's face with an owl superimposed onto it, which is just like, okay, we get it. The owls are not what they seem. Gotcha.
Yep, got it.
Thank you very much for that. Yeah, it felt like it was trying... This was like a less effective version of other similar montages that we've gotten. The previous episode was way more effective. The one Cooper's Dream one was way more effective. And this just sort of felt like David Lynch directing the episode was like, hey, this is what I do. I do one of these creepy montages. And here it is.
Right.
And I didn't really feel a clear story coming out of it.
It doesn't really have one. I mean, it's just like reminding us of a bunch of stuff that the giant is telling him. It's Ronette, it's an owl, it's Sarah going downstairs, and it's Bob smiling. You're like, okay.
Yeah, you could just cut that, honestly.
If anything, it just serves to remind us that those things are at the surface. Like, don't forget about those.
Right.
They're reminding Cooper and they are reminding us, but I think sometimes the like over reliance on telling you, like this season 2 does tell a little bit more than it shows sometimes. There's a moment in the second episode where Cooper is like, the chemicals or whatever. And it's like, guys, he picked up a vial of chemicals. You don't have to have him say it out loud. And right. I wonder if that's just like the network or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, it always feels a little lame. But this scene, I like it ironically and unironically because this scene is certainly showing and not telling, right?
Yes, definitely.
There are only 2 other things I can think of from this episode that we haven't touched on yet. One of them is the fact that Ronette Pulaski is confirmed awake.
And shown images of people who they're wondering if they are the person she saw one night. Yeah,
and that's really terrible. Cooper basically re-traumatizes Ronette Pulaski just to figure out. It sucks. It's really hard to watch.
He's better at being an investigator than he is being a cop. I mean, I guess this is like a thing a cop would do, but like as an investigator, he's like, I must put on a glove before I pick up a syringe. But also, like, this makes no professional sense. This is also in the scene where they spend 5 minutes showing that Cooper and Truman don't know how to work a stool, which is so funny, by the way. But then to contrast that and be like, okay, he's like comedically incompetent here. And then just like, traumatizing this girl who is treated so terribly and is hurt and needs a lot of help here. And being like, is this the guy you saw that raped a girl? Like, oh my, are you kidding me? Like, just ghoulish, honestly. And the cinematography really brings us in because it's like each picture is cleared up as Ronette is like...
the focus, as she focuses on it with her eyes.
It's awesome. And in terms of like cinematographically, it's awesome. But very uncomfortable and not at all addressed by the show the way that Cooper is like very comfortable just doing this, honestly.
Yeah, he doesn't like feel remorseful about it. He's just like, oh, okay, well, confirmed. See ya.
I just feel like the show doesn't care about Ronette that much, which makes me sad. Because she's pretty important to the storyline and like important to Laura.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of the weirder things about it.
Yeah. The only other thing is there was some important Andy Lucy development in this episode.
Of course.
So Andy comes into the station. He's got a piece of tape on his head for some reason. And he starts a conversation with Lucy where he says the following.
The Tacoma Sperm Bank was looking for donors. Naturally, I applied. It's my civic duty, and I like whales. A routine physical examination revealed that I'm sterile. Sure, I thought it meant I didn't have to take a bath, but the doctors told me the truth. They told me I can't have babies. So what I want to know now is why are you having one and how?
Lucy, you got some explaining to do, as they say.
Ugh.
So it's such a sad moment from Andy. He's like, "Come on, can we? What's happening here? I'm having trouble putting together, every piece of this." And then it really broke my heart where they both lean in and he closes his eyes thinking they're going to kiss. And then she just rips the tape off his head and closes the window. It's a bummer.
Harry Goaz. I think I read somewhere that his last name is pronounced Goaz. It might be Goaz. Doing some good acting here. Not just like he is funny and charming, which is also good acting, but like some pathos. In the way that he's like, I thought this was one way and this is not this way. It's always funny to me, like, how old are Andy and Lucy supposed to be? Because
I don't know.
They're talking about how they live together, or they don't live together, but they hang out with each other a lot, and they're clearly dating, and that they're, like, sexually active with each other, and that he's, like, he cares enough about this stuff that he, like, is donating to a sperm bank. And it's like, is he in his 30s, or is he in his 20s? I'm not very clear on that.
Yeah.
But this mystery will unfurl itself even more in just the next episode, so we can talk more about Andy and Lucy's sex ventures.
Yeah.
Right after.
Not quite sure why Andy thinks it's his civic duty to donate to a sperm bank.
Yeah.
Anyway.
You don't really have to do that, Andrew.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Do you have any stray notes?
Nope.
Cool. Well, Magellan, that was wonderful, and I think that we should take it to a brief musical break, and we will be back to discuss The Man Behind Glass. Welcome back to PeaksChatz, everyone. We're talking about the second episode we watched this week, which was The Man Behind Glass. It's season 2, episode 3. It's directed by Leslie Linka Glatter. It's written by Robert Engels, and it aired October 13th, 1990. Magellan, welcome back, and please tell me what happened in The Man Behind Glass.
In this episode, the lonely man with the orchids reaches out for companionship. The smoking man receives some good news. A young woman is brought further into the house of sin, but who is coming to rescue her, and who has her best interests in mind? A French-Canadian man wants revenge for his brother, and he's willing to stop at nothing to get it. The one-armed man begins to point, and the strong woman awakes from her coma good as new. After a strange hypnotism, we return to the young lovers, torn apart by secrets. The grieving father is finally arrested, and another diary was hiding in plain sight all along.
Spooky. But here's my crucial question for you, my delightful co-host. Better or worse than the first one? Or did you enjoy it more or less than the first one?
I don't know. It was higher highs and lower lows, I think.
Yeah.
There was some really dumb stuff in it that I'm not a fan of, and some truly standout character moments, so I'm kind of torn.
Dick Tremaine is my favorite dumb side character in season 2 of Twin Peaks. He's committed.
Why?
He's committed to the bit. You literally just said that the Juice You and I scene is your favorite scene of the show.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying tell me why.
Because he smokes a cool cigarette. He's the smoking man, like from the X-Files. No, it's because he fully embraces who he is. He is a fop. He is foppish. He is as the kids say, a fuck boy. He's just like immediately lays out his character arc on the table. He's like, I'm awful to Lucy. I'm a foil to Andy. I'm the complete polar opposite of Andy.
Right.
And I'm involved in the, excesses of American culture. Like, I'm a rich guy who works in the department store and, like, owns all this stuff. And, like, I, had a fling with Lucy and then never called her back. Don't I suck? And you're like, yeah, you do, Dick. Your name is Dick. Like,
you learn a lot about him from his introduction when he comes into the sheriff's office. For context, right now, Lucy and Hawk are trying to brainstorm words that include the letters B, R, and P, I think.
BRT, I think.
And T. And
RBT. Yeah, BRT.
Yeah. So this is the exchange.
Lucy, I've always considered you to be a woman of letters.
So stupid.
Prohibited.
It's Hawk breaking his cigarette.
I say,
He smacks it.
I don't believe we met. Richard Tremaine, Horn's department store. Designer menswear.
Robot.
Could I do something to anger him? Not that native people have enough reason to be angry, per se.
Let's go to lunch.
Right, Dick.
Capital. We'll go Dutch.
That's my favorite part. How excitedly he says, "We'll go Dutch."
We'll go Dutch. We don't have to pay. No, it's fine. Or we don't have to pay a lot of money. It's fine.
Well, going Dutch means like we'll split it.
That's what that means. I always forget.
Yeah, so he's clearly there's nothing about him.
It's still a fuckboy thing to say.
Right, that's the point. There's nothing about him that's like gentlemanly. He has all the airs of I have a cool suit and stuff, but he's just kind of a jerk.
As you remarked in your notes, he doesn't notice the no smoking sign because he's too busy looking at himself in
his
the
own
mirror.
reflection. Yeah, which is a funny note. I also don't mean to say that like gentlemanliness should be a thing or whatever. I think it's just, a nice thing that anybody could do to offer to pay. And the fact that he's prefacing this interaction before they go to lunch saying they'll split the check is a little jerky.
Yeah,
I don't mean to gender that.
Well, no, I've heard stories of people who were like, before we go out to dinner, like, let me get everyone's Venmo so we can split it. And it's like, just chill. Just chill a little bit. We can figure
this out later. It's okay.
Yeah, chill a little bit. I've waited like weeks for people to pay me back. It's not a big deal. But with a date, it's definitely kind of sus to be like, so we're splitting, right? Like, that's a normal thing you do.
Right.
There is a great scene later where they hang out at to do all the Dick Tremaine stuff in one fell swoop. It's two scenes. The second one is they're at the diner later having lunch or something. Mm-hmm. Lucy seems miserable. She is not having fun with this guy. He's like talking about all this cool stuff that they could do together. And she's like, Dick, like we had sex, right? We like had a fling and you didn't call me for a while, right? And he's like, yeah, I mean, I was busy. Like I have work. And she's like, Dick, I'm pregnant, right?
Well, yeah. And here's how that goes.
Well, in fact, the only thing special we did that night was drink 2 bottles of champagne and end up on a display bed in Horn's Home Furnishings.
So they had sex in the department store.
Love it.
Very adventurous.
I admit it was daring. That made it exciting. Still, I thought it would lead to more, like a phone call.
Lucy, I feel terribly you're upset. Really, I do. Let me make it up to you.
Like how, for instance?
For starters, I know I've promised you a new dress at my 20% employee discount. After lunch, I'll go right back and arrange something with Miss Balbo in women's wear, something very special indeed.
Oh, yeah? How about a maternity dress?
Get him. Get his ass.
I'm pregnant, Richard. Pregnant.
Preggers.
Why? Dick, why?
The guy playing Dick Tremaine is a really good actor.
He's actually
really
amazing.
Preggers.
Preggers.
I just looked this up because I was trying to figure out if he was purposefully cast to resemble Pierce Brosnan and James Bond, but he predates the Pierce Brosnan James Bond movies. So I guess they cast Pierce Brosnan to look like Dick Tremaine. That's what
Ian Buchanan is the actor's name.
Yeah.
Is he actually British? No, right? No,
I think the point
Scottish.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought the point was that he was just like a guy from Washington who was putting on an affect.
I think that's basically the point in the episode. Like, they wouldn't let him keep that accent if they weren't trying to do something like that. Like, he's doing What's that called? It's like transatlantic. He's trying to like sound transatlantic almost, and it just is really corny. But yeah, Ian Buchanan's a Scottish actor, still alive.
Yeah, interesting.
But yeah, Dick Germain, just one of the weirder ones. I think you can compare him to another mysterious man that gets introduced in this episode. I guess I'm going character by character here, but I want to talk about Harold Smith, who introduces himself to Donna. Well, she introduces herself to him after receiving a letter and going to his house. The guy takes care of a bunch of orchids. He's a shut-in who takes care of orchids. He's I hate to say it, he's kind of hot, you guys.
Yep.
Yeah.
He sure is.
This is such a like a soap opera trope, right? Is like the mysterious, sexy shut-in who like talks about like people can share their feelings with him. So much so that he actually ties back in. Crucially, I think this would probably be completely useless if he didn't have a connection to Laura. I think if it was just like Donna seeks comfort in another man, an older man, I'd be like, okay, I get it. Like she's figuring her stuff out. But to specifically tie him back to Laura and at the end of the episode reveal that she kept a second distinct diary with Harold that Donna finds, I think really sets this guy off on an interesting track, potentially.
I think it also gives Donna a little bit more to do because up to this point, it's kind of been, I don't know, she's been wrapped up in the James Maddie trio.
Yeah.
But now we're fully in this situation where we have Audrey, Donna, Maddie. All three of them are reenacting or kind of like putting on the hermit crab shell of a particular part of Laura's life and understanding directly what that was like. And I think from a storytelling perspective, that's really engaging because it's not just people telling us, oh yeah, I knew Laura and she did this, she did that. We actually see these three characters living out the things that Laura did or, approximately the things she did, which further helps us to understand just how like complicated her life was.
And it connects Donna right back to Laura. Right. Because Harold is saying, oh, you're as beautiful as her, if not more. And like, you need to take this orchid. I always gave her the lady slipper orchids from here. Which just sets Donna on the track. Like, I think Harold, more than anything, besides connecting us back to Laura's plot, gives Donna motivation. And something interesting beyond, like, I think that Maddie and James are getting together. Fantastic scene that Donna has later. I know I'm jumping around, but Donna visits Laura's grave. Kind of surprised we didn't get a scene where someone visits Laura's grave until now. But I guess they just buried her, like, last episode.
Look what it did to you. As much as I love you, Laura, most of the time we were trying to solve your problems. And you know what? We still are. Not mine or James or Maddie's, yours. You're dead, Laura, but your problems keep hanging around. It's almost like they didn't bury you deep enough.
Bleak.
Yeah, and it gives Donna some more dimension to really wrestle with the legacy of Laura Palmer, because she's kind of been stuck in like, oh man, Laura was cool. Yeah, we got to solve her murder or whatever. But it's like, okay, how do you feel about it though, Donna?
Yeah.
How are you processing this and reacting to it? And so I thought that scene was pretty powerful.
We don't get a lot of time for interiority and for characters who we already know to be like, hey, here's how I feel about everything that's going on. It's just like things keep happening to people.
Yeah.
And Donna gets a moment here to be like, I am not actually happy with the way things are going. And I really like that. I think this is a lot on the back of Laura Flynn Boyle. Like that's a scene, that's a monologue, basically, that you're doing to no one. You're doing to a tombstone. But she handles it really, really well. I think it's a great scene. Again, reaffirming that season 2 is not all stinkers. There's like really good stuff in this season that people poo-poo on so much.
And I like the analog to that moment that Maddie has, which we started to talk about in the previous discussion, where Donna comes home. There are multiple moments in the episode where she walks in on James and Maddie getting closer to each other. So there's like a moment in the diner where they're holding hands, and a moment in the Palmer household where they're embracing, and Donna's very upset about all of that stuff, obviously. And by the way, the musical cue that keeps playing is the riff from You and I, which is the show being like, huh? Remember the last episode? Here's a little thing we're doing. Okay, I get it. Thanks. I got it.
Thank you.
It was obvious. But Donna's really upset. James is upset, and then that makes Maddie upset, and she goes to Leland and says this.
All I did was come to a funeral. And it's like I fell into a dream. It's like people think I'm Laura. And I'm not. I'm nothing like Laura.
So hard. I know, sweetheart. I know.
And there's like, I didn't catch the whole clip, but there's this moment of real reflectiveness from Leland in that scene also, where he's like, yeah, we all just want things to go back to normal, and we can't make it happen, and it sucks. And she's like, yeah, it sucks. And I wasn't expecting, number one, for Maddie to have that moment where she so clearly speaks about how this is weighing on her and causing her to unravel. And I also wasn't expecting this moment of like fatherly understanding and affection from Leland also. And I thought that was a pretty good scene.
Very emotional. Cheryl Lee saying I'm not Laura is also just symbolically powerful, you know?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Actors playing themselves, playing people playing themselves is like,
right.
I saw a video today from one of my favorite like film criticism YouTube channels. And they were talking about like why so many movies are about making movies. And it basically boiled down to like, well, a lot of times like people who make films really like making films. Like he said, the one common thing about everybody who makes movies is they all make movies. And I was like, it's kind of trite, honestly, but it's true. Like they all, the reason that for that, or like you think of a movie like Barton Fink, which is about a guy struggling with writer's block, is because the freaking Coen brothers had a writer's block.
Yeah.
And so like getting to be an actress who plays a character who's struggling to play a part is, I think, a really cool way to like reincorporate Cheryl Lee into the show.
Well, and also it's a chance for her to comment on the broader way that her character and her are thought about. Like people really, I can't think of another thing that I've seen Cheryl Lee in, right?
Right.
To me, she's Laura Palmer. And I mean, I don't know if this was incorporated in her performance at all or what, but you could also just see Cheryl Lee saying that about herself. Like you all see me as this image, or like we talked about with Camilla, this pair of images, the prom photo and the photo of her wrapped in plastic. And like, I'm not like that. I'm a person. I'm trying to live my life here.
Right.
And stop, imposing these images of Laura Palmer on me. I don't know if she was consciously thinking about that when she delivered that, but you could certainly, if you wanted to bring the context of the show to bear on the text of the show itself, you could certainly see that.
Yeah. And I love doing that stuff. So I think there's value in that.
My other favorite moment from the episode, which is probably unironically, I do like You and I, but I think that this is a better moment than that, which is when we get more Albert. The first 10 minutes of this episode, by the way,
oh my God,
are like not, there's like more Ronette stuff, and Bob was there, and
this episode and the last one start kind of weirdly, and you're like, wait, like we're not in it yet. We're not into the stuff we're expecting. Ronette's like IV has been replaced with what I thought was blue Gatorade. Like, yeah, what's going on with Ronette?
It's clear that somebody was in Ronette's room, and Cooper isn't sure how that happened. Whoever it is, Cooper's starting to think that it could be this Bob guy, and maybe the letters. We get a T. There's a T that's put on Ronette, so maybe it's this Bob guy trying to spell out Robert. I don't know. That's what the episode offers us, but it just kind of doesn't. It's just like more clues. But the way that this show deals with clues is it sort of says them, and then when they come true, it's like, yes, the clue.
The clue that I said earlier. Yeah, my least favorite line from this episode later when. Cooper finds the syringe and he's like, oh, the thing I said
without
earlier.
Chemicals, he points.
Tell me about the best line, though.
Yeah, well, there's Albert's here, and there's this incredible exchange between him and Sheriff Truman, and I'm just going to play it.
Anything we should be working on?
Yeah. You might practice walking without dragging your knuckles on the floor.
Albert, let's talk about knuckles. For the last time I knocked you down, I felt bad about it. The next time is going to be a real pleasure.
You listen to me. While I will admit to a certain cynicism, the fact is that I'm a naysayer and hatchet man in the fight against violence. I pride myself in taking a punch, and I'll gladly take another because I choose to live my life in the company of Gandhi and King. My concerns are global. I reject absolutely revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. I love you, Sheriff Truman.
Albert's path is a strange and difficult one.
This is one of my favorite shows of all time, y'all. Are you getting it now? I'm being serious.
Yeah, it's just tongue-in-cheek enough and self-aware enough, but also, yeah, sure, it's a retcon of Albert's character to a certain extent because he's just been a jerk, and there's been no indication that he's this sort of peacenik civil disobedience guy.
Yeah.
But also, sure, it makes sense to me.
It's true. It's true in the spectrum of the show. Like within the universe of the show, yes, Albert does love Truman and is a nonviolent person.
Yeah. And I think I just love it. I think that Miguel Ferrer knocks it out of the park. He's so captivating in everything that he does. And it's a nice capper to this tension between Truman and Albert so that we don't have to keep revisiting Truman being like, yeah, I'm going to punch you. It also recontextualizes all these moments where Truman's punched him in the face or Andy yelled at him and we've been cheering, because now we realize, well, maybe we shouldn't be cheering for those sorts of things, actually. And maybe it's better to just turn the other cheek or whatever it is Albert's doing.
Yeah. I think you get a little bit of like the writers being hippies in a way.
Yeah.
You're allowed to not fight. You can be mean, you can be annoying and sassy and not have to punch people. That's allowed.
Yeah.
I love it. I think Miguel Ferrer, 10 out of 10. Mwah, one of the best scenes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to talk about the Audrey stuff, but we do have to talk about the Audrey stuff. It makes me feel like doo-doo.
So Audrey is now, she's been tied up by Blackie and what's the guy's name? Emery,
yeah. Good job.
And they want to blackmail Ben Horn to basically get ransom money from him to return Audrey, which Emery says is not a very smart plan because there's an FBI agent in town. He recognizes Cooper from the surveillance footage, and he's like, Ben Horn's a dangerous guy. And we see at another part in this episode, Ben Horn, like Leland messes up the Iceland deal or something, or makes them nervous, and then Ben Horn says to Jerry, like, have Leland killed. Mm-hmm. So Ben Horn's not a guy that you want to mess around with necessarily. And yeah, they're just like, do they give her cocaine? Did that happen?
First of all, I think it's heroin. Second of all, it's not shown, and I wonder if that's an S&P thing, a standards and practice thing, or if it didn't actually happen yet. Because I actually think it did happen, and that makes this way darker, because then Blackie says, I'm going to do to you what your father did to me.
Yeah.
Which is huge. Yeah. Familial trauma, guys. I'm pointing to my forehead right now.
Yeah.
I mean, also, isn't it later in this episode that Leland is like, hey,
yeah, we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
let's leave that in its own space for a second.
But yeah, so I think the implication is that they did do it. They filmed it, so they have like a ransom video, and then that makes this later scene where Jean Reno is introduced, who I don't want to hate, but I kind of hate. Like, not
of course
the actor.
Of course.
No, so like the guy he's an awful person in character in the show, awful person.
Yeah.
But I don't want to hate this actor that much. It's Michael Parks, who's like a very well regarded actor from like the 60s and 50s. Like, he's been in a lot of stuff, and he's American. He's from California. He's doing a deep Quebecois accent. He's really trying his hardest for this.
Yeah.
And he gives Audrey a caramel because he needs something sweet after you're coming off of a drug high, I guess, of a heroin high. Not fully clear on that. But then he sucks on it himself because he is a gross man, and men sucking on things is the whole theme of Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
Or men sucking.
Good job. Good work.
A key unlocked in my head right there.
Good work.
Thank you. Yeah, this is awful. This is like... I know that Twin Peaks will continue to delve deeper and deeper into the darkness of this town, but holy crap, the way to introduce a villain by being like, hey, this guy sucks and he wants to kill Cooper. Don't we love Cooper? We don't want someone to kill Cooper. I think they do a really good job of making you hate him from minute one, is what I'm getting at here.
I guess. I just think he's dumb. I think it's a silly plot to add in, personally. Like, I think he's kind of I don't know. I'm just not interested in his vendetta. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We don't necessarily know why. It's his brother. I get that. He's like, I want revenge because you killed my brother.
Yeah.
But also Cooper didn't kill
Right. Cooper
Jacques.
didn't kill him. Yeah. So they're misleading him.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Continues the sort of forest of betrayal happening in the background of the show. But
it just seems like a very season 2 thing of a show to be like, and now it's the brother of this guy from before, and he's mad. It feels very TV in a way that other stuff doesn't, and I wasn't a fan. And also, Blackie has a sister who's like, yeah, I'm your sister, and I hate you. Like, okay, sure. I think that we had enough characters when it was just Blackie and this Emery guy, and now there's like a French dude who's gonna kill Cooper or something. I'm not into it personally.
There is some good stuff I want to get to, but we can jump here just a little bit to not miss any big scenes. Philip Gerard is having difficulties. He tries selling some shoes to Truman, but feels very faint. And he says, oh, I have medicine for this. I don't need water or anything. Just let me go to the bathroom and take my medicine. Goes in there.
He sees the picture of Bob.
Yes. He sees the picture, the wanted poster or whatever of Bob, or the police sketch. Has a very strong reaction to it, runs to the bathroom to inject himself with something, doesn't make it in time, and comes out seemingly changed by the experience, and calls out to Bob. It says, Bob, like, our fight is going to continue, or something like that. Cooper picks up the syringe later and is like, the chemicals. Without the chemicals, he points, and it's like, please stop telling me what the show. Stop explaining your dreams to me. But then we're back to the hospital for 2 banana scenes. The hospital has become the source of so many of the show's weirdest scenes, John.
Yeah.
First off, we have Ed and Norma. Doc Hayward tells him, hey, Ed, you should sing to your wife. She is somewhat semi-comatose, and she might wake up soon. She seems like she's going to wake up. If you sing something to her, it'll help her. What's the science behind that? I don't freaking know. It's so that we can get the actor who plays Ed to sing.
And he does, and it sounds like this.
On top of Old Smoky, all covered with snow.
Very gentle and beautiful. Nothing weird yet.
I lost my true lover.
He gets emotional here.
According to slow, according to pleasure, ardence of grief.
Yeah, it chokes up. Oh, ow.
False-hearted lover is worse than
So this is Nadine waking up. Demonstrating super strength.
And then, wait for it. Wait for it. Oh, she's clapping here.
Yeah.
And when we climb to the top, the cry is victory! V-I-C-T-O-R-Y! Hi, Eddie.
try to pick me up?
Huh?
Doc Hayward says tonsillitis or no tonsillitis, I can go to cheerleading tryouts.
Cheerleader tryouts?
Well, I'm a senior, Eddie.
Oh, no.
You know what they say. You're only 18 once.
Fucking music. Uh-oh. What's happening here? Oh my god. This plot is bonkers.
Good. It's excellent.
I mean, it's just one of those season 2 plots that you're now watching the show for a different reason, right?
Yes. This is a different show. Like, this is not related to the murder. Norma thinks that she is in high school again. Not Norma, excuse me.
Nadine.
Nadine. I was like, but that's no way that's right. Nadine thinks she's in high school again.
It's definitely related to like her character and the stuff that she talked about in season 1 about liking Ed from afar and having issues with his relationship with Norma. But we kind of put that stuff to bed a little bit. At least Ed and Norma did. And, you know, you almost want to see Nadine wake up and I don't know. I mean, this isn't what Twin Peaks is, but you want to see her and Ed like reconcile or something. And instead it's just like, nah, we're going to make her think that she's a high school cheerleader. And also she has super strength too. Sure.
She's stronger than ever before. She's strong enough to fight all the bad guys.
Yeah.
I don't know why, though. I've said it before. I don't know why the FBI doesn't just hire her to beat up all the bad people. It seems so easy.
I'd love if somebody out there could tell me, like, if they think this plot is good.
I think this plot is, hey, hello. Nice to meet you. I think this plot is good.
Do you think it's good for, like, serious reasons, though?
Who cares?
Yeah. I mean, it's entertaining.
Entertainment is entertainment. Like, and I could, like, if you're asking me, like, can you dig into this and find something, like, thematically rich about it? I don't feel like I have to. I feel like it's entertaining, or it's good just because it's weird and quirky, and there's something unique about, like, a woman with an eye patch breaks free of her restraints and finds herself thinking she's in high school again. I don't really feel like I want to or need to, like, make that make sense. I think that can just exist on its own. It's not trying to interact with the main plot. We know it's not going to. It just is strange. It gives Nadine something to do. We said, like, last season, you know, I feel bad for her, and now she gets to live a life again. She gets to have a second chance. So I think there's something to that. Like, just getting to see the actress get to do scenes is good.
Sure. Yeah.
But it also is hella stupid when Doc Hayward's like, she's on the 3rd pair of restraints and we had to knock her out because she keeps fucking killing our nurses or whatever. So, I wish her the best of luck. I think Ed's face throughout that scene is some of the best face acting he's ever done.
Yeah, like, yeah, it's funny. I mean, I'm not arguing. It's funny. It's entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I just would rather not watch it for much longer because it doesn't contribute much.
That's
and I mean, I understand, like, sometimes you just sort of have to let the show wash over you a little bit and watch it that way, but I don't want to. I want this to matter a little bit more, and I don't know, maybe we'll more later, but this was one of the parts of the episode I was not a fan of.
Yeah. I personally wasn't a fan of Jacoby introducing us to his smoking hot Hawaiian wife, Iolani.
That was weird. And you were saying that this is the only time she ever appears in any Twin Peaks media, right?
You got it. You bet. She was mentioned in the first episode. He mentioned that he had a wife in the pilot.
Very cool that his wife is the equivalent of the furnishing in his office.
Yes.
It's just like, hey, another Hawaiian element.
She's set dressing, so to speak.
Yeah.
God. He asks Cooper to hypnotize him so that he can remember what happened when he was unconscious.
And he has this like pre-written hypnotism or something that he wants.
Nonsense. I'm shaking my head right now.
So that Cooper can read it?
Yes. He has his wife rub his feet and he has Cooper hypnotize him to walk him through Jacques' murder. He says he knows the murderer, and then Cooper's like, "Who is it?" We don't hear what he says, but we know what he says because A, we saw it, and B, later in this episode, when Leland comes to the sheriffs to talk to them, they're like, "Hey, Leland, you're under arrest for the murder of Jacques Renault."
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I just think that there was a means to an end. Like, let's just get Jacoby to get the people to know about Leland.
Mm-hmm.
Expediting things a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that is a lot of the episode. We have Donna at Laura's grave. We have the whole scene with Maddie and Leland. I thought it was... Okay, so in this episode, we hear that Leland recognizes Bob. And he says, "Oh, when I was a kid, we had the summer home up in Pearl Lakes, and this old man would flick matches at me and tell me to dance, and like, do you want to play with fire, little boy?"
Mm-hmm.
But
Which
then,
is what Laura said to James.
Bingo. But also, like, he's saying that, and then when Maddie's like, "I wish things were normal," he says, "If life could only be like those summers up in Pearl Lakes."
Right.
And it's like, dude, you were harassed by an old man. Like, what do you mean though? It's the way that that old people like have a fondness for the good parts of their lives without thinking about the like bad parts.
Mm-hmm.
But like literally in the same day, Leland is saying that, and I just thought that was weird. But
yeah, I mean, it communicates that there's something about his memories of whoever this guy is that he like isn't totally acknowledging or thinking through.
Yeah,
like there's something going on there.
Mm.
We'll learn more. We just know that Leland knows who Bob is or recognizes Bob.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then the episode does end with Donna finding Laura's diary. The thing I liked about that scene is they used a great instrumentation of Laura's theme, like a different instrument entirely, and I thought that was really, really well done.
Mm. And Harold has the diary.
Harold has Laura's secret diary. Yes.
Yeah.
What could it say? Actually, I do like James, and I don't think he's too nice. Oh, also, James, like, his mom came home. Whatever.
Oh, yeah, he tells Maddie that his mom's home, and he's upset about it. Yeah.
When Donna sees him and Maddie, like, hugging or whatever, and then she, like, walks away. First of all, great rack focus as we, like, switch over to seeing Donna in the background. And then he's like, why? He's, like, basically like, why is my life like this? Oh, you got it?
The clip.
Why? So, that's not his voice. Why? It's not even close to James's voice. Amazing. I guess when people yell, their voice changes. I get it. Let's test it right now. No. That's me yelling. Why? Yeah, that's me yelling.
That was really good. Let's try it again.
That one is really useful. You should keep that one around. Do you have anything else here?
The only other scene that was of note, we talked about Shelley going to Truman and Cooper, and she's saying, "Oh, I don't have to testify against my husband," and they're like, "You're not testifying. We're just asking for a statement," which is kind of squirrely cop language.
Mm-hmm. Big time.
And then I didn't like Cooper in the scene where he's like, "Okay, I get it, Shelley. Yeah, you love
stealing
Leo,
the money.
right?
Yeah,
he's great. You're gonna remember just how much you love him." And Shelley's like, "Huh?" And Cooper can tell that there's something going on, but they still don't know that Shelley and Bobby are together. Anyway, that's gonna go somewhere. We'll see where it goes. But that scene happens, and then there's this really strange exchange between Cooper and Ben Horn. Where Cooper tries to go to Ben to talk about the fact that Audrey's missing, and Audrey called him, and he's like, "Oh, she said she liked seeing me in my tuxedo, and I was wearing that here at the Great Northern, and what's going on?" And then Ben's basically like, "Hey, but I think you might have a thing for my daughter, dude." And Cooper says, no, what?" And Ben says, "Let me give you some advice, man. Lots of people have a thing for my daughter, dude, and they get chewed up and spit out. So good luck, buddy. I'll let you know when she gets home." Strange. Just this like sort of bro-y thing, but it's his daughter. Ugh. I was not a fan of that exchange.
Ben Horn's a gross man. Don't forget it. And also, like, you haven't seen him with Cooper very often, if at all.
Right.
And so that was kind of surprising. I'm like, oh, these two do interact with each other. It's like mucking up Cooper in a way that I actually find interesting. Like, turning him up a little bit. He's not this perfect, like, little sage, fun character who does a dude on the whistle like we thought in season 1. He's getting a little dark.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
I think all of the Audrey stuff and, like, this thing and Cooper having a thing for her and Ben being like, oh, you have a thing for my daughter or whatever, would be so much better if she was just older. Like, all the dynamics would work fine. This would be an interesting, weird power struggle thing between Ben and Cooper if she just was, like, not 18 years old, you know?
Yes. Well, so it's supposed to connect her to Laura and be like, she's in high school, but, like,
right.
Her plotline isn't that directly explicitly tied into Laura's.
Mm-hmm.
It's her dad's whole situation that's tied to Laura. So, yeah, I think they mostly just made it because it fits everybody into the same, like, everyone goes to the same high school kind of thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the logic of how to arrange characters and character dynamics, like, this all works for me. It's just the sort of thinking about the real world realities of Cooper being a pushing 30-year-old FBI agent and she's an 18-year-old girl. It's like, okay, never mind. This sucks.
This does suck, actually. That's the man behind glass. Who is the man behind glass? Is it Harold because he's behind the orchid glass? Is it Leland because he's behind bars now? Is it the spooky man, the spooky Asian man who keeps sitting in the background of scenes reading a newspaper and furiously walking across the Great Northern? Or is it Jean Reno who says, candy is dandy, baby, nasty man? Or is it Dick Tremaine who's smoking up? Who could say? So many evil men.
His reflection in the glass.
Whoa. All right, we did it. Can we talk about what we're watching next week, please?
Next week, we are watching 2 more episodes of Twin Peaks Season 2, episodes 4 and 5 of the second season. First is Laura's secret diary. Leland confesses to killing Jacques Renault. Andy wants to take a new sperm count test. Just the whiplash of those 2 sentences. Rumor spreads that a food critic is coming to Twin Peaks. Jean asks Ben to set a trap for Cooper in exchange for Audrey's life. Dun, dun, dun. And then after that, we are watching The Orchid's Curse. Oh, the orchids have a curse. Cooper remembers the message under his bed. Shelley and Bobby begin Leo's home care. Sternwood hears pre-trial motions and declares Leo not fit for trial. Nadine comes home still thinking she's in high school.
More of what we're watching. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I don't know when certain things are coming, so all I can say is, and then I make the face like the waiter does in season 2, episode 1, where I make the thumbs up, and I just hold the thumbs up for 5 straight minutes. That's my response.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, Magellan, before we hit the end music and talk spoilers, I want to tell people about the show and where they can find us on the internet.
Okay.
It's time for the plug zone. So if you folks would like to get in contact with Chats the Television Podcast, we have an email address. It's chatspod@gmail.com. That's where you can send your questions, comments, and concerns, and we will read them on the podcast if you are okay with that. We have a Twitter account, which is @ChatSpod. All instances of ChatSpod are ChatSpod. We have a community-run subreddit, which is r/ChatSpod. We encourage people, if they like the show, to rate us on their podcast platforms of choice. We're on Spotify and Apple Podcasts primarily. We have a Patreon where we put out all sorts of delightful, wonderful, exciting content. It's patreon.com/chatspod. If you back us at $3 a month, you get all sorts of bonus content like Magellan's solo X-Files watch show. You get us piloting TV shows. You get us just hanging out talking about non-TV stuff. And if you back us at $5, you get all of that. Plus, you get a thank you at the end of the episode. And if you are a $5 patron like Kat, Marcus, Nick, Pat, Fendon, Ryan, Six, and Stefan, then you yourself also get a thank you at the end of an episode of Chats. Our website for all things Chats can be found at chatspod.com. And finally, our podcast art was done by Camilla, who can be found at Camillastrator on all social media platforms. Thank you to Camilla for doing wonderful work with the show. Magellan, we like to give people little recommendations for things to do between this and the next episode. Can you give people your chatsum for this week, please, sir?
I have two chatsums. One is a musician that I realize I don't think I've ever chatsum before, as far as I'm aware. And his name is Still Woozy. And he does, I don't know, kind of groovy, I guess bedroom pop, sort of groovy, kind of funky songs, and every single one of them is good. And the reason I was thinking of chatsuming him is because today I was listening to his latest song, which is called Get Down, and it's pretty good. So if you're not familiar with Still Woozy, go check out his page wherever you listen to music. Hey everyone, this is Magellan cutting in real quick from the future while I'm editing this. It's kind of funny that I waited until this point to chat some Still Woozy, since I've been listening to his music for a while, because this week after we did this recording, but before the release today, he released his first album. So I'm revising my chatsum a little bit to say, go check out If This Isn't Nice, I Don't Know What Is by Still Woozy. It's a really fun album. If you like stuff that's funky, poppy, vaguely melancholy at times. Yeah, so If This Isn't Nice, I Don't Know What Is by Still Woozy. Anyway, I still have a second chatsum for you. And then the other is a YouTube recommendation for this guy named Big Joel. And Big Joel is, he's just one of these video essay type guys, but he covers a set of things that are particularly appealing to me. Namely, he has videos debunking PragerU right next to videos about the movie Shark Tale. So it's sort of like everything you could possibly want. And he is, he's just very like precise in his language. He's very thoughtful, and also has a great dry sense of humor, and like makes himself laugh a lot. And yeah, he's just like one of those YouTube guys where it feels like a smart friend of yours is saying something smart, and that's kind of fun.
Oh my God, Incredibles 2 is pretty bad, right next to the evil of Ben Shapiro, right next to the conservative propaganda of Dr. Phil. Let's go.
Yeah.
I gotta check this guy out. That's Big Joel.
Big Joel.
J-O-E-L on YouTube. Dope, dude. Dope. I wish I had a chatsum for you this week, but I don't, so I'm just gonna pass on this one. No, I'm just kidding, guys. Come on.
I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah, hold on. Was that an option?
A lot.
No, I have a chatsum for y'all this week. So I've mentioned before, if you keep up with chats, that my other friends and I every Sunday night like to watch TV shows together. It's a nice place to watch shows that I wouldn't ever consider covering for chats, or wouldn't really consider covering in the same way. We just watch a couple episodes a night and we talk over them and we talk about our week, and it's fun. We've watched a lot of dramas, so we wanted something a little bit lighter, and so we picked up BoJack Horseman. I hate to break it to you, but it's probably the darkest show we've watched so far, depending on how you define the word dark. Because we have literally watched a show called Dark. But people know about BoJack Horseman. It's the sad cartoon about the depressed horse who used to be famous, and now he's like a washed up 50-year-old former sitcom star. He's voiced by Will Arnett. And it's, a Netflix original, 2015, animated. I'll say a couple things about it that you probably haven't heard recently. First of all, the voice talent on the show is bananas. There's so many famous people. Every single new character, I'm like, oh, I know that guy. Oh, I know her. Oh, of course, that's Maria Bamford. That's also Maria Bamford. That's all. That third person is Maria Bamford. Crazy. Just lots of, but like honestly, a lot of variety in voice talent. And I think it's a really honest look at not only like how Hollywood can be torturous for people's mental health and how fame and celebrity can be, but also like it's a pretty. And I'm mind you, I've watched one season of it. And we got through the first season in 2 nights because it was so fun. It has an opening hump that's like not great because it's like, oh, everyone's just shitty and angry and like sad, whatever. But it kind of starts to critique itself and become this sort of like self-reflective story about like characters like BoJack, we talk a lot about this type of archetype on TV, right? Your Don Drapers, your Walter White's, your Tony Soprano, like character who we're supposed to like despite the fact that they suck. And BoJack is the first show of that type that I've watched where it's like, oh, you're not supposed to like him. The show is about how no matter how hard he tries to redeem himself, he keeps messing up and doing it again. And how real and painful and relatable that is, but also like I don't want to be this guy. I think it's only going to go up from here. I hear it's a kind of like linearly better show. But I'm 6 years late, but I'm here to tell you that BoJack Horseman's a really rad show and worth your time. Especially if you can get through that first like 7 or so episodes of like sitcom goofiness. You're in for a wonderful time.
Nice.
So that's BoJack Horseman. And that, dear friends, is PeaksChatz. So thank you all for being here with us in this space. Thank you to Magellan for being the Truman to my Cooper. And thank you for listening to PeaksChatz. Damn fine podcast.
That was really good. Let's try it again.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Spoiler Zone. This is the part of the podcast that you should be listening to only if you have watched seasons 1 and 2 of Twin Peaks as well as Fire Walk with Me, or if you don't really care and you just want us to spoil things for you.
Yeah.
Magellan, let's talk some spoiler stuff. I brought up a couple of topics here. First of all,
Okay.
The spooky Asian man. Do we know who he is?
I was assuming that he was somehow associated with the Mr. Tajimura plotline, but I don't know who he is.
So his name is Jonathan Kumagai. He was an employee of Thomas Eckhart, and he was sent to Twin Peaks to bring Josie back to Hong Kong.
Okay, so he's not related to the Mr. Tajimura plot.
No, that's what I'll say. Do you remember who Thomas Eckhart is? That's where this is like the real dumb Twin Peaks stuff. Don't worry about it. He's involved in like the bank explosion. Like where,
I remember the bank. That's not one of those plots where I'm reminded of it. I think about the bank a lot.
Okay, it's a beautiful plot line that ends well.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding. The term lonely soul, j'ai un âme solitaire. My French is bad, by the way. It's going to tie back into the Harold plotline later in season 2. Do you remember where Harold's plotline goes? It's kind of sad.
I just know that there's more kind of lovey stuff between him and Donna, right?
Yeah. As I remember it.
I don't remember anything else.
So I'm going to spoil this for you right now so we can just talk about it frankly. Is that okay?
Sure.
He realizes that she still has like things going on with James and then hangs himself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And his suicide note says, I was a lonely soul.
Oh, God, I remember that.
So Pierre is giving her a hint about the future. He's saying, like, look for the lonely soul and then confirming, like, that person's going to help you and then be out of your life.
Oh, that's terrible.
Yeah, it's rough. Speaking of Pierre and Mrs. Tremond, we kind of talked around it. We did our best to talk around it. Cream corn is garmonbosia, guys. You know that. It's the thing that the bad people eat in the Black Lodge for sustenance and delicious. It's bad vibes.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly what it is bad vibes.
Whenever there's like one person who is like new to the friend group and they try to jump in on the inside jokes, that vibe, that's garmonbosia. Whenever you say thank you when the person at the movie theater says enjoy your movie and they say
no,
me
when
too,
you say you too, yeah.
You too, that's garmonbosia right there. It's bad vibes.
This could be your version of what is it? You're a redneck gif? That's how you know you're a redneck?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What does he say?
If you go to Walmart 4 to 5 days a week, you might be a redneck. If you go to
might
Walmart
be a redneck. That's what it is.
Yeah.
And then Bill Engvall has here's your sign.
I don't know Bill Engvall.
He's another part of the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Oh, what, part of the squad? Who's the guy with the mustache that was on Who Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Jeff Foxworthy. That's the you might be a redneck guy.
Also looks like an older version of you.
Okay, I'll take it. Sure. He's a handsome guy.
not a lot to talk about the return, but you just remember how you felt watching Just You and I, and you were like, this is so nice. I love this.
Does
Keep
he
that in your
reuse
brain.
that song in the return or something?
I'll never tell. And then finally, the RBT, it's Robert. I thought I was going to like quiz you and be like, Magellan, what do you think RBT means? And then in the episode, he's like, I think it means Robert. It's Bob. But here's my question.
Why is he spelling Robert?
Because it's there's more victims than there's not 3 victims. Also, you would have 2 B's. There are no repeated letters in Robert.
What do you mean you'd have 2 B's?
If you spelled Bob instead, you would have B-O-B, which is B-B-O, 2 B's.
Uh-huh.
Whereas there are no repeated, so you could put a different letter under every victim's fingernail to spell out Robert.
Right.
That's why. My question is, so let's theorize for a sec. Leland is arrested. Presumably Leland did that with the nails, or not presumably, he did. Is that Bob flexing on people, being like, I did it and you'll never find out? Or is that Leland pushing back and trying to tell people who's making him do things?
Right? By leaving the letters, you're saying?
Yes.
I don't know. I think that's just a sort of like the psychology of a mass killer type person, like leaving a calling card. I think I don't know. I don't know enough about that, but that's like a thing in
like the
media,
Zodiac killer,
anyway.
Right? I left you all the or the Snowman killer. Like I left you all the clues. Yeah.
Yeah, like it's a sort of egotistical. Like I want to claim the suffering that I caused as mine or something. It could be Leland trying to send us a message, but I'm not sure because Leland's not really. These episodes confirm that he's not really aware of what's going on. I think I've been talking as if he was like, he's like expressing some kind of guilt or something, but it's clear that he doesn't know who Bob is consciously. He doesn't know that he's responsible for these things consciously.
Yeah.
So he's going to sort of find that out when we do, I guess.
Sooner than later, like 3 episodes from now or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited about that. God, season 2 is going to run out of steam so hard. Why does it keep going? I'm excited. Anything else? Those are all the spoiler notes that I had.
Well, Leland talks about his time as a boy and the abuse that he experienced from Bob, and Firewalk with Me, I think, makes that more explicit from what I remember. And this is just kind of hinting at the like cycle of abuse situation. But yeah, it's just an important thing to keep an eye on. That's one of the like major themes or things of Twin Peaks. Like that's what Bob is a metaphor for ultimately.
Right.
He's not just like a evil spirit that makes you do evil things. He's meant to stand in for the fact that this is something that Leland experienced as a child, done to him by someone in his family, and he then turned around and did the same thing. So keep an eye on it.
That's good points, and that's what I think that's what we got. So thank you, Magellan, for joining me for the spoiler zone. We'll talk to you all next week.
Bye.